Welcome back. You're watching Brand Equity's Most Trusted Brand Survey 2015 with me, Sonali Krishna. Now, one of the biggest shockers this year was Nestle's Maggie noodles. It goes without saying that the brand has witnessed its most trying times in 2015. The severe allegations against the noodle brand caused it to suffer a loss of over $200 million. But clearly troubles don't end there for Maggie. The entire controversy has resulted in Maggie's consumers looking at it with suspicious eyes. So much so that for a brand that enjoyed the top slots on Brand Equity's Trust Index this year in 2015, it's come crashing down by a whopping 90 points on the trust meter. Here's an in-depth report.
This is one brand that has been shining on the Trust Index for some time now. Part of the elitist top 10 club on the Most Trusted Brand Survey, Maggie, until this year, was witnessing a meteoric rise on the Trust Index. 2015 has undoubtedly been a disastrous year for Maggie, thanks to the MSG and lead controversy. And a drop in the Trust Index was most definitely a given.
It's a banned item.
Maggie is our all-time meal.
This is completely wrong.
बच्चों की health का सवाल है.
However, that the beloved noodle brand, which stood tall at number 5 last year, would drop a staggering 90 points was definitely not envisaged. In the Most Trusted Brand Survey 2015, Maggie, from being one of the top 5 brands, is now part of the bottom 5, coming in at number 95.
Yeah, it's a precipitous fall, and I mean, obviously one expected that they would fall, but this certainly is a much bigger hit they have taken than what one would have thought. So my first reaction is of surprise. I think this is a steeper decline than what one would have imagined.
I would never have imagined that a brand would drop quite so precipitously. I would have thought that people would have kept some loyalty to the brand as it went through this difficult period.
This precipitous fall in its trust quotient is no laughing matter. Clearly, the allegations against Maggie, coupled with the fact that Nestle's PR left a lot to be desired, had a rippling effect as anticipated. But the steep drop in trust was most definitely not, given that Nestle has a decade-old legacy and has a loyal following. The 90-point drop just tells us that the damage to the brand is much larger than one would have thought. Does that mean that in today's day and age, loyalty has become a lot more fickle and that consumers are a lot more unforgiving than they were in the past?
The fall is very steep, but I'm not very surprised because we've seen this twice before in other brands' cases, and when I was in Coca-Cola also we had the pesticide controversy. And what happens with food is, like, mothers are giving noodles to their children and there's a lot of trust and there's a lot of belief. And if it gets broken, I think there will be an absolutely equal reaction on the other side. So it goes to the extreme. You totally trust and then you totally drop it.
The fact that there is a specific sort of an event that has taken place that has eroded the credibility, but it's also sitting on top of a larger movement away from foods that are perceived not to be healthy to foods that are healthy. So I mean, when you put the two together, once consumers have moved away, some of them will be inclined not to come back in any case. And some of them will not come back because of the trust issues raised by the government action.
कब वापस आएगा यार? Miss you.
The fact that Maggie is now in the clear and that the controversy is done and dusted with, will this ensure that Maggie will go from being a banned to a beloved brand once again?
आज सुना, हर टेस्ट में यही निकला है। सब ठीक है हमारी मैगी में। मैगी ही नहीं, ऐसे लग रहा है मैं भी पास हो गई।
Is it enough that the courts have given Maggie a clean chit? Will suspicious eyes that were cast on the prodigal noodle brand just go away? Or is the cut deeper than we think?
I would say that Maggie personally should be totally transparent with the consumer. And as I said, a double kind of communication. One communication which is to the masses, positive, that this is the same good Maggie that you've always loved, and then another one which explains to the more sort of the reader who wants to have the time to think over, etc., as well as to the trade, a communication that tells people exactly what happened and that it was not their fault.
I don't think Maggie needs to do too much, but I think Maggie needs to do a fair bit at the ground level, at the grassroots level, at the BTL level, in terms of the activation formats that it will employ, in terms of the communication format at the grassroots level it will employ, its B2B effort with retailers as to how it's going to talk to them, its B2C efforts with its primary constituency of young mother, child, college students, and bachelors. I think that communication is going to be important.
The good news, however, for Maggie is that it's back in action and on the shelves. So much so that in its first 10 days of making a comeback, it managed to sell a whopping 3.3 crore packets. This is no mean feat, but unfortunately it is just one small baby step towards gaining its lost shining glory. So can we expect Maggie to climb the ladder and make it to the coveted top 10 on the Trust Index in 2016?
It will take years to get back into the top 10. It will be, I don't think they should expect an immediate bounce back at all.
I think it will recover significantly, but it won't get back to its old position.
Let's take a look at what the street view of Maggie is. So what do you really think happened with Maggie?
I think they were at fault, so they had to banish all the products they had made. So they came up again with fixing all the errors they made.
There was the excess MSG and the lead that was a big problem for Maggie, and now they seem to have sorted everything out. So I'm very happy that Maggie is back.
So Maggie was under controversy, and I would assume they have sorted out the issue, and I hope they this time do not play around with the sentiments of consumers.
Maggie had a problem in terms of the excess lead and MSG issues, etc. So we don't know right now whether it's solved or not. If it's solved, good for us.
As to whether the problem with regard to its safety, with regard to its content is concerned, I don't know.
And there you have it. Consumers are still under the impression that Maggie was guilty, which is exactly the opposite of what transpired. From here on, Maggie's battle is twofold. A, making their way back to their dominant position, and B, making sure that consumers are aware of what really happened. And this might just take a lot more than good old regular advertising.
And with that, we bring the curtains down on this special episode of Brand Equity's Most Trusted Brand Survey 2015. We hope you enjoyed the show. To take the time and drop us a line at brandequity@etnow.tv, or alternatively log on to our Facebook page, that's facebook.com/brandequity, to tell us what you thought of our special showing. You could do the same on Twitter @brandequitylive. And on that note, I leave you with the grand countdown of India's top 10 most trusted brands 2015. Thanks for watching.